Start streaming. It says we're streaming now.
All right. Hello and welcome everyone. Tonight, as Eminence, we have a couple of guests with us to go over some do's and don'ts of your first big event, your next big event, and every event that you go to in between. With me today is our head judge for our upcoming cookout, which is happening this weekend, Mr. Baldy Michael Arrowsmith, as well
Hello.
as our appeals judge, Charles Magyar the Fourth,
Cool.
no less than.
Hi.
And yeah, so we're gonna get into some things. I'm gonna let everybody introduce themselves, what they do, and how long they've been judging. Just to give some prefaces. Yeah, I know I want to call you out for that one, but I'll pass it over to Baldy and let him start.
All right. Well, I'm Michael Baldy Aerosmith. I'm a very, very old level 2. I've been judging for coming up on 13 years, almost exclusively at the large event level. I don't do a lot of local events. I mostly do Star City events, Grand Prix, big cons, events like we're doing this weekend. So been around for a bit, seen a lot. So yeah, that's me. And when I'm not judging, I own my own business. I own a spice business, and that takes up most of my time. So nowadays, when I can get out, I'm a little choosy about the events that I attend, but I definitely like working with Eminence and doing these events. The cedh community is interesting in a positive way. So I definitely like this format.
Awesome. And Mr. Charles.
Hi. So I'm Charles, and I've been judging since I think 2016. It might have been 2015. I've done a bunch of local events. I was like your friendly LGS judge for quite some time before going to some events in New York and getting picked up by Max and swept into the life of an L2, finishing that this past year. Working with Eminence has definitely been an adventure. It led me to working in Vegas this past year and MTG Philly. So I don't have as much large event experience as Baldy does, but I do have a lot of cedh experience. Experience as Baldy does.
You absolutely can say that I bullied you into it because we all know that's true.
Sometimes I can be easy to bully when I already have my heart halfway in the ring.
Sure. All right, and we
Well,
all know
I
our.
actually kind of appreciate this. I kind of appreciate the tandem with myself and Charles this weekend because I'm not as versed in cedh. I mean, obviously, I studied the documents and I talked to Max a lot. But being able to have my large event experience and Charles's cedh experience should be a pretty nice little tool for the players. I think being able to have what could go wrong, someone here has seen it, and we can correct it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some common things that you have both seen with a lot of the newer players or people who are not as familiar with tournaments coming into these larger events?
Simple mistakes on your deck list, like just not being diligent about checking your deck list. And under current policy, in regards to cedh, this is a very big problem. Because the penalty as it reads currently, ends up hitting you pretty hard. Also, the quality of your sleeves, and being that we're in Atlanta this weekend and humidity in Atlanta is definitely a thing. The bend in your cards, especially if you're running foils or a mixed match of foils and non-foils, when you're getting ready for a tournament, check your sleeve. Get new sleeves if you can afford to get new sleeves. Get new sleeves. Also, shuffle your sleeves because typically you get a box of sleeves and it'll be in 2 stacks, and those aren't always cut exactly the same. And so, if you sleeve up your deck the way a lot of players sleeve up their deck, you sleeve up all your spells and your creatures, and then you move on and you do your lands and artifacts at the end. But if you're doing that and you haven't shuffled those 2 packs of sleeves and they're not cut exactly the same, all of your lands are now marked, and that's marked cards with a pattern, because all of the lands are marked. And this is a big problem. And obviously, if we believe that you're trying to do it to gain an advantage, then it's going to be a much larger problem. But the penalty, as written currently, is pretty harsh when it comes to a best of one match, game of one. It's a pretty harsh penalty. So, yeah, check your sleeves, check the quality of your cards, and if there is any question, if it's like you're on the line before the event, get there 15 minutes early and go, hey, can I talk to the head judge? And have the head judge check your deck, because then if the head judge is like, yeah, it's on the line, but I think it's going to be fine. And then if you were to get deck checked later and the deck check judge goes, hey, we have an issue, the head judge has already seen this deck and says, no, I've approved it for this event, because that's kind of how it works. As the head judge has the right at any event to make that final call. And so in this case, they have made that final call before that call happened, right? Because you as a player reached out and said, hey, I want to make sure that I'm good to go. And because the head judge has said you're good to go, you are good to go. That's how it is.
Yeah, Baldy, if I could add to that,
Yeah.
As judges, like if you're going to your first event and you haven't had judges before, we are there to uphold the rules and policy, but we're also there as Magic players. So we're not out seeking to, give anyone penalties just because like
no.
that's the thing. We're there to make sure everyone has a wonderful time. So if you help us help you, if you do your part, get your deck checked, make sure your sleeves are good, go over your deck list, make sure it's 100 cards, but go through them all. Just be thankful you don't have to write them down with some pencil and paper.
Mm-hmm.
Help us help you have an outstanding event, because that's what we're there for, and that's the whole point of the event, is in the end to have fun.
One thing when it comes to your deck, don't trust your friends to register your deck for you. Oh my God, your friends do not care. Oh yeah, I checked it for you. That's right. The best friends you could possibly have. No. Check it yourself. You are responsible for that deck. Okay. If a penalty ends up happening because something was wrong with your deck, your friend's not getting the penalty. And I'm sorry, but the judge is not really going to take that. Oh, my friend checked it. Well, I can't give your friend the penalty. You're the one playing the deck. This is how it goes. So, I definitely, if your friends can help you do stuff, but you need to do a final check on your deck when it comes to deck check, when it comes to making sure your list is right, making sure your sleeves are right, making sure there's no uniquely identifiable cards in your deck. That is a term that I want players to understand, is that we as judges do not care if you're running 60-40 split of foil versus non-foil, or you're running one of foil card because it's the only version you get. I don't care. I really don't care, foreign or not. I don't care. I care if any of your cards are uniquely identifiable. If I can cut to one of those cards, if I can see it in the deck, if it bends over the top, if it's sitting on the top of the deck, that's where I care. All right. So there's always the questions of, oh, I wanted to have all foils or no foils. Well, that's cool. That's great. If you're able to obtain that. But at the end of the day, though, uniquely identifiable. We don't want any cards standing out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. If I could touch on that as well.
If
As
you
somebody
have information about a card in your deck.
My apologies, you're cutting out, so I was trying to step in.
To fill the gap.
But as somebody who has a basically foiled out deck, obviously with cedh it's difficult, because if you have the cards and you're playing any dual land, those don't come in foil. As somebody who has a deck that has 95 of those cards foiled out, you invest in double sleeves, invest in thicker sleeves that help prevent the bending. If you are really concerned about that, like there are ways to mitigate it. And as Baldy started with, if you have any concerns at all, talk to us before the event starts.
Mm-hmm.
We have many more options before the event starts.
Something else going into cards and quality of cards is alters. Now, With cedh altars, they are generally accepted. I'm sure Max can go much more in depth about the altar policy, but I did definitely want to hit on altars are great, and you might find something hilarious as an altar, but be aware that what you might find hilarious can also be highly offensive to someone else. And if you have altars, get the altars unless they've already been checked by, I'm assuming Max has checked a number of altars for eminence over his days. And so likely if Max has approved it, then I'm likely going to approve it, at least for this event, and most head judges, at least for eminence. But if you have a question about an altar, be aware that some things can be offensive even if you don't know that they're offensive. So check them with the head judge before the event. And a good tip is that if you do have altars, if you have the ability, having a non-altered version of that in case that judge is like, no. You're not sitting there going, oh no, I have to change my deck now because that judge didn't allow this altar. There's in the new day and age, especially with cedh, altars are generally accepted, as long as again I would definitely want Max to chip in on the altars because he has a lot more experience in this community with altars. But generally they're going to be okay. But just in case, it's good to have a backup. Always have a backup, right?
Max, it appears you're muted.
Yeah, I think you're
Oh my
muted.
god, I forgot I was typing, so I didn't want to have my clicks recorded. As far as
Yeah.
altars are concerned, when you're looking at them in today's day and age, it's really hard for us to make a justification that a piece of artwork is not okay on a card because of the sheer amount of secret layers that are out. So the art recognizable portion of if you can tell that it was this card really doesn't apply philosophically anymore, because all of these cards look vastly different. And like, we have cereal box art, we have things that are just completely non-related being printed by WotC. So how am I supposed to tell you that your Cheerio Soul Ring is not legal? Like, my main rules are: does it mark the card by making it completely like stick out when you have it shuffled into your deck? Is it vulgar or offensive? And are there any private parts showing that shouldn't be? So any like
The vulgar and
lewdness.
offensive part is the vulgar and offensive part is that's where that discussion ends up happening, at least in my experience, is that what one person believes is vulgar and offensive, somebody else believes it's not vulgar and offensive. I'm
Right.
going to lean more on the side of vulgar and offensive because I'm looking at it from not just my opinion, but how can I see this playing out with the other 159 players in the room? Can someone be offended by this? If there's a possibility of that being a truth, I'm probably not going to allow it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just looking to like, most of the time I'm gonna say yes to your altars. I haven't had to deny a lot of them. Some of the altars and proxies that I deny are because they're misleading. A certain friend of mine, like said, likes to make these really gorgeous altars where he replaces the art of an old school retro border foil that happens to have the same mana cost with a cedh relevant card. And because it's in a different language, uh, they're okay as proxies in your casual games if your opponents all agree with that. But when you step to a larger scale, those cards, just because they don't have the original picture, are still the original card, and now it's misleading because people can read those cards sometimes. So any like your Japanese fierce guardianship is not a fierce guardianship, and that's something that I will constantly say no to, and I don't know a single head judge that would approve, just because the actual text on that card, somebody from that country or with that native language will be able to see that and be very confused, because you can represent that as either card really if you want to, artwork or not. So it's really anything that can be misrepresented as a different card or multiple cards, or offensive or lewd or anything to that effect. Other than that, I love art. I my half of my deck is at this point now alt arts. So
Nice.
I love looking at all of these really cool pieces of artwork to begin with. So it's really like I want to see them played because one, I know how expensive they were. Two, like there's no reason for the most part that I can say no.
Yeah, I've done a lot of judging in the vintage community and the old school, the 93, 94 community. And altars are that's a thing. Being able to pimp out those decks, and like when you see a beautifully altered set of power being played off at a random event,
Yeah.
I'm usually pretty lax with my altars because I appreciate the beauty and the time that someone has put into making this absolutely stunning personalized deck. At the same time, there are people that are going to test that rule, and they're like, well, this bikini basic land, everything's covered, right? Yeah, it's a little too close for me. So just play it on the safe side. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that is probably one of the biggest things to avoid as a player is marked cards. Check your altars, check your foils, check your sleeves. These are very easily avoidable issues that no judge wants to deal with. They really don't. Um, but yeah, that's probably the easiest thing you can do to make our lives not suck. So yeah, because I don't want to give out penalties, and I don't want to have those discussions. I don't want to make it where you're now on a winning end for the rest of the tournament. Like I don't want that to happen.
Right.
But at the end of the day, though, you didn't do your due diligence to make sure your deck was completely legal and good to go. Um, a thing I would suggest for players onto a different topic, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, uh, there are no lunch breaks for these
Yeah.
events.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not a thing. That hasn't been a thing in probably 10 years. Back in the old days of the old regional PTQs, lunches just don't exist for major events anymore. Be cognizant of that. I'm not telling you how to take care of yourself. I'm not your dad, so that's not my job. But I would suggest have a good breakfast. Maybe put some snacks into your bag. Unless you're playing like mono red all day, and even in that case, you're probably still not getting 20-minute rounds. It can be a long day, and it's not always very easy to snap away and get some food. So have a good breakfast. Take care of yourself. Uh, Bring some snacks. It's a solid play. Um, don't You're going to come up and go, is there a lunch break? No, there is not. And you're going to be a very sad panda because you did not plan ahead to accommodate for that. So yeah, definitely try to get some sleep the night before. If you're one of those crazy people that love sleep, getting a good breakfast before the event. Um, Try to get to the event maybe 15 minutes early at least, especially if you're having to do check-in or something like that, because you do have a lot of players that'll show up 5 minutes before, and everybody has to check in, and now the event's supposed to start at say 10 o'clock. I think our event starts at no, it starts at 10, right? The Atlanta event.
I think so. Max is muted again.
I believe. Yep.
Yeah, I believe round one should be posted at 10 o'clock. If
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
I mean, if players are on time, we can start sooner, maybe, but I highly doubt it.
Well, and I would love, because I don't want the event to go all day, because I don't want to be here all day. Players,
Yeah.
you don't want to be here all day. So like getting there, like say if the call time's 10 o'clock, getting there at like 9:45, make sure that you've checked in, make sure you know the layout of the room, you know where table 1 is versus, table 80, and all that kind of good stuff. It's going to really, really help you out when I yell over the crowd going, hey, pairs for round 1 up, or, seating for the player meeting is up. You'll be able to
Yeah.
find out where everything's at, and you're not in a rush. But if you show up, 3 minutes before when round 1's supposed to post, and there's 30 people in line checking in or getting their play mats or asking questions of the head judge or the TO, all of a sudden now we're starting at 10:15, 10:30. Like the longer you guys take, the longer we're going to take, and that's really unfortunate. But I don't want to be there until 10 o'clock at night because everybody showed up like right directly on time.
Which
So
thankfully
yeah.
we haven't had yet. We haven't had a night that started or that went past like 7 p.m., which is fantastic for
Yeah.
LobbyCon, which is
Mhm.
one of the many draws to our events. Is it is a hotel that we're staying at for the event. So once the event's
Mhm.
done, everybody gets to gather downstairs and play all sorts of games. And usually there's plenty of
Mhm.
people playing till way later than they should be for playing in day two. Um, but yeah, I've
Gluttons
had
for
a number of
punishment.
people. I've had a number of people just like not wake up for their day two, who were like
Mhm.
locked for top 16 and just needed
Mhm.
to show up, just didn't show up for round like 5 and 6 or 6 and 7, whatever it was. And I was like, well, I'm
What do you want me
sorry.
to do?
Yeah, what would you like me to do?
Well,
You're the
I mean,
one
I
that went
overslept or I overslept. There was traffic. There was a line at the restaurant. And the
the
very easy answer, and this might seem heartless, but the very easy answer when you're talking to the judge goes, "Well,
Skill
the
issue.
other 159 players showed up."
the best excuse that I've gotten in recent years is I'm sorry, I was out late at karaoke with Gnarls Barkley. That was
I
That
might have
is-
allowed it.
Hold
I might have
on.
allowed it. I mean, like, you know what?
Yeah.
You're living the best life. Yes. You know what? This time and only this time. Now, this is a
Yeah.
deviation, by the way. No.
Oh, yeah.
This goes to show you, judges are human.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
Allegedly.
Well,
Yep.
some of us.
Allegedly human.
Um.
So
Charles.
speaking of humans, humans should identify where water fountains are when they get to the event and how to access hydration.
Yeah.
Eating well throughout the event. One way to throw a game is simply losing focus because you're dehydrated or hungry.
Mhm.
So, like, if you want to have fun, you should not be hungry and not be dehydrated. If you want to do well in the tournament, you should be neither of those things either. It's just a win-win for taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
As somebody who would grind the modern PTQs and things as a lantern player, you learn that real quick. And
Everything
a lot of
makes
players,
sense. Everything makes sense.
I was a burn player when I played professionally. I was a burn player, and so I had 40-minute breaks every round.
Yeah,
and
I
it was
could
great.
not relate. I was
See,
on either Death and Taxes or Lantern.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
Baldy,
this is
you
what
were
you
were
get.
such a
You
professional
get
pro
what you
player.
deserve. You don't get breaks. That's you like your happiness and making everybody else miserable. Good. That means you get no lunch.
But you did the same thing but fast.
Yeah, no, but see, here's the thing: is that you can be really, really sad that you got burned up really fast, and then you can go wallow your sadness in your Subway sandwich because you
Winning-
also have a 40-minute lunch.
Winning with
I've done
burn
you a favor.
allows your opponent to go through the stages of grief before the next round.
Yeah.
Winning with
Yes,
Lantern
exactly.
means they're tilted into the next round.
The long
That's fair.
con.
Yeah.
Long con.
But honestly though, like as Max touched on, we've touched on the whole LobbyCon aspect of like when the tournament is over for the day, there's still more magic. Even if you don't do well at this event and you want to end up dropping, other people will drop and they'll be at the hotel for the same weekend. They may have traveled quite some distance and they're here to game. And that's part of what makes these tournaments awesome, is because it really puts a shining light on the gathering part of Magic, right? Which we all know and love.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of if you don't do well,
Ooh,
we
there's
will
another event.
be having a redemption event on Sunday for anybody who does not do well in the main event, or just feels like they don't want to keep playing in the main event, or is 7-0 and has given up on the main event for some reason. There is a redemption that will be a flat 3-round event, just enough for players to finish up while we're playing the finals, and they'll have a chance to walk away with some money rather than not getting absolutely anything.
What time does that event start in relation to the day 2 start? Do you happen to know?
At
I was
least
curious
a
if it was
full-
staggered.
It's absolutely staggered. It's going to be a full round
Ah.
after.
Great.
Yeah.
So if you don't, heed our concerns and suggestions, and you decide to, oversleep and not make your day 2, you're not completely out of luck. You can always just go into the side event. No,
Redemption.
the redemption event's great. Yeah, I was very excited when that came to fruition. The redemption events.
Yeah, it's
Um,
definitely a good opportunity because we don't offer traditional sides because the size of our venue makes it very um, uncooperative to spectators and people who just aren't in the tournament. So
mhm,
those are typically the people you wind up having inside events. So we just haven't had a huge crowd or command for any type of other game. So we haven't been running
mhm,
anything. But giving players another cedh event on Sunday seems like a huge win for everybody
yeah.
who's out and hanging around for all their friends who have made top 16.
Mhm. So back to tips for players.
Mhm.
Uh, this should, I believe that this should be common sense, but historically that has been proven to be untrue. Um, when calling for a judge,
Excuse me.
the best way you can do this is put your hand in the air, leave your hand in the air, leave it up, and very loudly say, Judge, as loud as you can. We're not going to be upset if you say it too loud. We really aren't.
We might be
Because,
triggered,
yes, it's
especially me
possible.
because I won't be in black this weekend. Uh,
Yep. But all those judges are going to hear you, and someone now knows where you're at, so we can get to you to help you. Okay. Um, Leaving your hand up in the air, and don't be afraid to say it too loud. Um, don't be afraid to say it too loud. I honestly, if you call judge loud enough, I will absolutely clap. When yeah, I am impressed. Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, that's great. Because we want people, we want to be able to help you. But if you're like, Judge, we can't see you, we can't hear you, and now, we're going to get over to you as soon as possible. But if we can't hear you, we can't do that. Now, when that judge comes over, they want to help you. They want to get you back on track. They want to correct whatever the issue is, answer your question, give you clarification about an interaction or a ruling or Oracle text, or watch your mat while you go to the bathroom. Whatever you need, the judges are there as primarily customer service that just happen to know the rules pretty well. We
Okay.
want to help you, so don't be afraid to call for a judge. There's a lot of people that get afraid to call for a judge because they think they're getting in trouble. Well, here's a very strong statement. Okay, if something goes wrong in your game, okay, and you are afraid to call a judge, so you don't call a judge,
Fix it
and
myself.
then
Oh, yes, fix it
and
myself.
then it's found out that you didn't call a judge and you let something break in the game, and you knew you should have called a judge but you were afraid to. It's a much, much, much more serious issue. You know, um, call a judge. Don't be afraid of getting the thing is the penalties. Some of them can be harder than some would like. That it is what it is. That's also something I think that's actually being addressed. But um, the thing is that it's so much worse if you don't call a judge. Things just get worse and worse and worse and worse the longer a problem sits and festers. All
Yeah.
right, call a judge. Let us do our job. Let us get you on track. Um, Also, be patient with us. Judges are human. Um, there can be times that a judge needs to pull away to talk to another judge for clarification about an understanding, or it's an extremely convoluted situation that we want to make sure that we get you the most correct answer, the most correct fix to your situation. So be patient with us.
Right.
You're going to get a time extension if you call for a judge. Almost always, right? If the call is over a minute, you're getting a time extension. So you're not losing any time. Okay. Um, call call a judge. Don't be afraid to, and very loudly, obnoxiously, even call
Yeah.
for a judge.
Especially it's going to
Um,
be really loud in those rooms. There's going to be plenty of other noise, and you need to make sure that we can hear you and get to you. And uh,
yeah,
essentially, from the back, you all look the same.
yep,
Uh, Realistically, you're all Magic players with backpacks and heads. So,
yep.
or hopefully you have a head on your shoulders. Um, so we really need to be able to spot where that call came from, and it might take us a second to get there because inevitably it's round 2 and everybody's realizing that they're having problems at the same time, and there's 5 of us and 160 of you. So sometimes we need a little bit of time before we can get over to you.
Yeah, want to
Um,
add to all this because it's awesome discussion. But if you don't feel comfortable like yelling, or you just can't make a loud enough noise, you're in a pod of 3 other people. I'm sure one of them can be really loud. You can just ask them, like, can you call judge for me? Like, some people just love yelling, and it's really, really fun. And like Baldy said, the louder it is, the easier it makes our jobs. And sometimes it's just like, whoa. The other thing I wanted to emphasize is I've seen this happen, or heard of this happening really, where you're new to the game or new to the format, or just you're seeing some deck and you've never seen it before, and then the one person's playing the deck and they're comboing off, and the other 2 people are convinced that you are dead. This game is over. What are we doing? And you are like, I don't think so. I don't understand. Like, are we? And your opponents are just like, yes, no, this game is over. Please, can we just leave now? If you are unsure of what's going on, like if you have a question, it's like, but wait, I think this isn't that counterable. I can counter that now, can't I? And the other 2 players are saying, no, you can't. We're just dead. If you think so, and you want clarification, that's a perfect reason to call a judge, because those your 2 opponents who are now, waiting to leave the game could be wrong, and you might be the one who saves the table.
Mm-hmm.
So
Also feeding off of that, your opponents do not have your best interests in mind. Okay, they do not. Something that that has come up a number of times in my last couple of events is when an agreement is made between 2 players, saying that if you do this, I won't do this. And then the player changes their mind for whatever reason. And then we get a judge call going, hey, judge, this was agreed to, and now they're saying they're not going to do that.
Too bad.
That's really unfortunate.
Now,
and so, go ahead.
I'm going to say, I'm just going to preface that with the fact that Commander was set up as a casual kitchen table sort of thing. So people have this air about it that deals shouldn't be broken, and you can make agreements and you could do this. I'm sorry, there's $5,000 on the line. I'm lying to your face directly.
Yep. But the thing is, from what Charles was saying, was with the the 2 players are like, dude, you can't. There's nothing we can do. You can't do. You don't know if there's an agreement between these other players of they want this match to end because they want their friend to get points, etc., etc., etc. They don't have your best interest in mind. The best policy you have is, when it comes to a rules type situation, call for a judge. Because we have no motivation to who wins. We don't care who wins. We have motivation to go ahead.
Sorry, that brings up a really good point. I just wanted to use that as a segue.
Are we going to deviate? Because if we want to deviate, I would like to add one thing.
I also want to add one thing to that too.
Okay.
One more thing, please.
I'm on the stack. Charles can deviate, and then Billy can deviate, and then I'll speak.
Cool. Humor mirror. So
Mana Crypt, Soul Ring.
With
perplexing
deals,
Now,
right?
if I interject here, do I get priority? And
Yeah.
so who gets priority after me?
You got split second, so.
Excellent. Go ahead, Charles.
Actually, some mana abilities here. So with deals, right? Judges can uphold magic policy. We can't uphold player policy. So if you make a deal of not being attacked for X amount of turns, we can't uphold that. As Billy so aptly said, if there's $5,000 on the line or any amount of money on the line, if you do make a deal or attempt to make a deal, it cannot include any financial of I will give you dollars, I will give you this, I will let you stay in my room tonight so you have a place to sleep in, so when whatever. Any kind of deal outside of the game is within magic policy for us to then disqualify you, because that's bribery and waging,
collusion, bribery, gambling. There's any of those things. So yeah, the deals have to be this match involved. Yeah,
there's a very short stepping stone from going, oh, we're playing Commander, into, oh, we're doing things against policy.
I'll
Yeah.
buy you a drink if you don't attack me. We now need to have a conversation.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, that's a
that's
big,
and I don't like having conversations. Conversations with the head judge or the appeals judge away from your match are typically not great. Uh,
Hopefully pleasant, but not great.
no, pleasant, absolutely pleasant, professional, nice, absolutely. However, something has gone awry if you were talking to the head judge or the appeals judge away from the table. There's an investigation going on, or you have done messed up, and we want to know why you messed up and exactly how bad you messed up. Please don't make it really bad. So no collusion, no bribery, no offering anything outside of a game.
an offer you
All
can't
right.
refuse or must refuse.
So what
All
all
right,
I
so
wanted to
Char-
say with that was literally there's only two groups of people that you can actually trust when you're in a tournament. One is yourself, and I mean personally that's a difficult situation for myself. I don't trust myself, but the judges. The judges are actually the ones you can overall trust because like Baldy said, we have no skin in the game. You know, we're here to just be the referees. We're here to make sure that, you're getting your touchdown correctly and all this sports mumbo jumbo. You know what I mean? Make sure that you're doing everything correctly and everything's done by the book properly. So literally, we don't have any skin. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, I hope we have some skin. That'd be a little
allegedly.
disturbing.
Humans.
But yeah,
drink
for those
water.
who don't know, Billy is also one of us. He is a level 1, correct,
Yes.
Billy?
Yes.
He's a level
Oh,
1
neat.
judge
Yeah.
who is actually like somewhat competent, and I trust him to run events.
Allegedly.
Which you will be seeing him on the floor for Festival of Nights
Yes.
in August. Yes,
August.
August.
Yes,
That's the
August.
next month. So that'll be
Festival of
exciting.
Nights.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
Festival
what
of
if-
Nights. Sorry, in
Oh, and what's the?
Wilkes-Barre.
Wilkes-Barre.
Pennsylvania.
Is that? Oh,
Wilkes-
really?
Yeah.
Gonna
Yeah.
be in my stomping grounds? Did I
Yes.
say you could come into my stomping
I-
Well,
grounds?
I
Look,
allowed it. It's
I
my stomping
invited
grounds.
you. I invited you, and you told me that you were too busy for me, and you couldn't give me.
Oh no! You gave me like a month notice, and I scheduled things out like 5 months for my business. So
Look, I'm
I've been
important.
hounding
You
you.
should make time for me.
Hold on, wait, you're
Oh,
not
I do
coming.
my
I want
best.
spices.
I've been hounding Max about an event. Like, what are the target events that you have for ECDH for months now?
I
And I
gave you this
finally got
as
some
soon as it
dates.
came up. I
True.
offered this to you as
No, I
soon
get,
as it came.
I super get the logistics of it. I get it. Also with my business though, my season starts in April and goes until December, and so I have a lot of events that I schedule, and I'm like, I'm trying to keep these weekends open. Is there actually an event that Max wants me to be here? Kind of need some information, but I get it because the logistics behind running events, because I've ran events from like I was a judge manager for a Grand Prix with TJ Collectibles. Like I've been on that back end trying to like herd all of the kittens it takes to run these events.
Yeah,
Like
it's
I
like
get it.
it's a balance of how
there's
many staff are we getting, how many stipends do I have to give out, what can I do for everybody, like who do I want to work together at this point, like
yeah. Who's gonna get
there's so many-
opportunities?
there's so many
Like-
moving parts.
Yeah, it is a lot. Like you guys running these events and running these events as efficiently as you do, it is quite impressive. It is.
I appreciate that.
So players, I hope you guys understand exactly how much work Eminence puts into these events and how much that you don't see that goes on to make these things happen.
I have been having a blast taking over more of the staffing challenge though, and like being the tournament organizer of like
Mhm.
this whole section. It's kind of, I enjoy it more than floor judging, which it's a lot more work, so I don't know why I enjoy it more than floor judging, but I do. So
Sense of accomplishment. It's great.
you can find me running around events now like a chicken without a head, making sure that everybody else is fed and watered. But
That's usually my job.
back to my point. We're going back to deals and offers and things that you can or can't refuse for one
Yes.
blue mana. That brings us to things we cannot enforce. And like you said, you mentioned that you can't enforce deals at the table. The other thing that we can't really do anything about is spite plays, or what people refer to as spite plays, spite pacts, just things that they feel are targeted.
Yeah.
Um, like we can
Kingmaking.
only respond to things within the legal rules of Magic. If a player wants to play poorly and do something poorly, like they're entitled to do that, whether it's a feel bad moment or not. And like that's just a skill issue on that player for making a bad play that way. Like we should all be here to play optimal Magic. We shouldn't be here to be playing the I'm just gonna make sure that specifically you don't win because I don't like the way you treated me 10 minutes ago. We're here to sit down, play for a prize, and do the thing. And I think a lot of that does come over from the casual side of Magic, of people like holding grudges past games. And I don't know about you, but like we're in a 25% win rate format. Like we should only be winning 1 out of every 4 games. So we really need to be comfortable with losing. If you're going to be salty about a game that you lost 2 hours ago, like it's probably
Yeah.
something you got to adjust some type of attitude there, and just realize like players are going to make bad plays or not be as skilled or not know exactly what to do. And I think it's about learning with the community on that as more than it is about spite plays.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A lot of times you do get people that have those feel bad moments where, they make a really improper play. Well, improper
Mhm.
by definition of what you see as improper, but that
Right.
person might see that as the optimal play. Hey, I'm going to play this blood moon and I'm stopping, this player, but doesn't realize that the Najila player has their commander down. It just goes, yeah, sure, no problem. I'm just gonna keep beating everybody to keep everybody's
Yeah.
face. You know
But
what I
they
mean?
Whoops.
they
Yeah,
adversely might also just be doing it to be spiteful. Like
right.
they could do that. That's within their right. They can be a unsporting play without
Not
committing unsportsmanlike conduct.
Right.
They can be not sporting, but not
Not
every not
sporting. Yes.
sporting is unsporting.
Right.
Right. There we go.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
English
Yeah.
is a
So
silly
Um.
language.
True.
Yep.
With this,
Now,
I would say.
well, because
Oh, sorry.
something that we were talking about before going live was
The crab sticks.
well, besides that, um, no, the spiteful scooping and how it's being handled about scooping in regards to cedh and this upcoming weekend's tournament,
yes.
because people can be like, they kind of the whole like, screw you guys, I'm going home
And-
type thing. Scooping in cedh is handled a little bit different.
Yep, and I
Um,
think this would be a great time to mention that Eminence will actually be putting out its own version officially of the multiplayer supplemental tournament rules that we'll be adopting for all of our events, so that we're not just stating that we're making any type of exceptions or anything. We'll have a full policy document, much referencing most of what Monarch has done and the work that they put in, not to discredit anything they've done, because Libby and that whole team has put a lot of effort into laying that groundwork. But it's a few things that we have applied in the past that we really want to update and make official and let people see that it's printed somewhere, so that they're not wondering that we're pulling these policies from just thin air. So one of those will be putting in stone the fact that we do enforce these sorcery speed concessions. And what that doesn't mean is that you have to sit there when you're unhappy with a game and get stuck at a table that you're continuing to be put into a bad mood. It just means that when you concede, you have to call a judge if you're not conceding at sorcery speed, because the judge will have to sit there and basically make sure that all of your triggers that might happen with the permanents you have in play are respected until the time in which you would be able to make that sorcery speed concession. This is built on the philosophy of like 4-player games happen, in this format. So, uh, like conceding to stop somebody's win is not really an appropriate play. That's sort of an unsporting, like that's where we can stop or step in for these spite plays, is saying no, you can't just concede because one less player will make this person not be able to win. That's more what we want to encourage, is people to just play the game and not try and take that away when somebody puts a win on the stack, like targeting one person and that person just decides that they're going to step out.
For example, like something to shed more light and to explain what exactly how that could affect a win. You know, we all know the Thorkel line, insta wins, no problem. Labman, same thing. Things that are affected by that. Glinthorn, Buccaneer, and Malcolm. Najila combos. You could technically do any type of
Pivot.
dockside lifts, tivots, yeah.
Mhm.
Just to name a few.
Yep.
But
Any
that's
Derevi triggers,
Yep.
anything that involves interacting with your opponent's board state or the
Yep.
number of opponents you have, or targeting a specific person first.
right.
Like, I'm going to swing with my Najila for these attack triggers, and oh no, I'm just going to concede because you'll get enough warriors to kill the next person, and like blanking their attack. It's like
Someone's
we-
Praetor's grasping you.
Right,
Someone's
yep.
mnemonic betraying because you have the combo in your grave. Like
Right.
it's there's a lot more that you think, and I mean, again, that stems from the casual aspect of it. People go, I'm done here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, they rage out and, go about their business. But like, you can't do that in a tournament setting. Like, it's really difficult. Like when I mean, most of us, I don't know about you, Max, most of us did the 60 card grind. I think you did it from a conversation. Yeah, pretty sure.
Absolutely
Like,
did.
you don't really have that because it's like, oh, cool, you're scooping, cool, I just win. Like, sure, whatever. Go be salty somewhere else. Like,
That's
Lantern
definitely
Control
where
over there is
the-
going, that's what I live for.
That's definitely the shift in mindset. Is like the regular Magic tournament rules say that you can concede at any time, but there's no impact when you concede at any time because the game's over. That's why it's personally, I feel it's different when you're looking at a multiplayer setting, especially competitively. That concession at any time is not valid because you're dealing with more than just the game ending as soon as that concession's made. That being said, universal concessions, like if three people agree that the fourth player is winning and they don't want to play the game anymore and they don't feel the need to see the combo played out, that's entirely allowed because it's three people agreeing that the game is now going to be over and conceding there.
Yep.
You'll
Hopefully,
flash
it's
off
4
scoop.
people agreeing.
Yeah.
The person winning is hopefully agreeing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, you could just want to like hear your own voice and play out the combo, in which case you can do even when your
Ooh,
opponent's
dude.
leaving.
KCI.
Um,
Oh boy, I have a wicked cough
no,
today.
Charles senses a sigh of relief every time he doesn't have to explain the KCI combo. But he's just very good at all explaining it. So I think the outro to this video tonight, before we all leave, definitely has to be Charles explaining the full KCI combo.
Oh no.
Well, I conveniently have to run. It's crazy because I don't want to hear that. All jokes aside, I do actually have to run because I am at another event. But I pulled away from that event to do this little shindig with you guys. I look forward to seeing everybody this weekend. Should be a lot of fun. I'll be the big bald guy in the burgundy shirt. So come say hi.
If people
Make
want to bring you a
sure,
drink on the floor, what do you want them to bring you?
Green tea.
Green tea.
Definitely
All
green
right.
tea. Yeah,
Okay.
Hotter
iced
green
green,
tea.
iced green tea. Yeah, absolutely.
How sweet? How sweet do you want it?
We're in Atlanta, Georgia.
So we.
There's
That's-
only one thing.
see,
You're past the Mason-Dixon line. I don't know why you asked.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So,
Yep.
All right. So
Baldy, before you
catch us
leave,
with some green tea.
Yes.
before you leave, where can people
Before
find
I
you?
leave,
Where can people find you?
say it again.
Where can people find you?
Where people find me?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. On Facebook, there's a Judge Michael Baldy Aerosmith page that you can follow to see all the shindigs that I'm up to and pictures from events and what I'm going to be at and things like that. You can find me on Discord and a couple of the servers under Boros Baldy. But yeah, that's me.
How about your
And
spice?
Yeah,
not to
Boros-
mention, some
Exactly.
spiciness. What about some Baldy's Blends action?
If I can, a company called Baldy's Blends. It's a hand curated spice blends, seasonings, herbs, rubs, sugars, things like that. And you can always go to my website, baldysblends.com, and put an order in and get it shipped to you. And also, at least for this weekend, by tomorrow at 11:30 p.m. Eastern, if you didn't want to pay shipping, you can put an order in and use the code Cookout2023 at checkout, and it'll give you free shipping. and I will bring your order to the cookout. So check out my website if you want to. If you like spices and stuff, that's what I do when I am not judging events. So
I will say on
that's
Baldy's
it.
blends, I put Baldy's Pure Perfection and Hellfire blend on absolutely everything. It is like the
Hellfire
best.
is going to be back in three weeks because I talked to my because I source locally as often as I can. I talked to my pepper guy like 2 days ago, and they are harvesting this weekend, which means I'll have them in my hand next week, and then I get to dry them and put on my full bodysuit to grind ghost chilies and Trinidad scorpions and Carolina reapers down into a fine powder and bring back Hellfire for the season. So the Hellfire AP is coming back. It's probably my most popular blend, but it is a seasonal blend, and we're about to hit super hot pepper season.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm excited.
And
I'm
now
pretty
we're all
excited.
just gonna think about you in a full bodysuit grinding peppers.
Wait, you don't
It's
think about
a
that normally?
bodysuit. Think about a beekeeper's bodysuit, not an aerobics instructor bodysuit. Much
Oh,
different.
play Matt.
Max,
Mm.
I like the
I
first
understand.
one. play Matt
Max
ideas.
Max has his fantasies. I get it. I understand it. I embrace it.
He's hotter than
But,
that pepper right now.
yeah, right. Ooh, that's a different shade I've never seen, Max. Crazy. Look at that red. It's almost like a rose red, isn't it? Wow, crazy. All right. I gotta go, guys. I will see everybody this weekend. Have a good night. Thanks for having me. All right.
Absolutely. Thank
Hi,
you.
Baldy.
Toodles.
And then number
Okay.
3.
That
And
was
now,
sorcerer speed. I think
Charles,
that was sorcerer
let's hear all of your thoughts now, Charles.
speed. All my thoughts.
All of your thoughts.
Yeah, all
every
of them.
single one
Every
of them.
thought. Every thought.
Jeez.
Perfect. Exactly what I expected. No thanks.
All right,
Only
so
here.
we
The thing just stares back at you.
Now that Baldy's gone and Baldy's more of our policy man, we can talk to you a little bit. What do you think you're going to see this weekend as far as the meta and any weird or outlier combos you think you want to hope somebody's playing so you get to explain them?
So, weird and outlier combos. I mean,
I am.
I haven't. Tyam, so that's fair. So Tyam has been putting
Destroying
in
Mox
work
Masters.
in Mox Masters. So much work. Granted, a lot of those players are across the pond per se, but if you are a Tyam player, I will be heavily interested in watching those games. I like seeing that deck because it has so many weird lines that end up becoming infinite. So I expect there to be one Tyam player at least that understands their deck fully enough to make it to some top tables. I don't know if I would expect many Tyam players. There could be several Tyam players that end up at the more lower tables who are trying to figure out the deck, because one thing the deck, struggles with is time, right? Which is
Right.
kind of funny because time is important in time.
Ah.
But other things I've seen at other events are like the Gitrog monster. I always enjoy seeing the Gitrog monster, and then like 6 rounds in, they're in the other side of the room, not near the winner's table. So I'm waiting for some master of the frog to bring the frog back, so that I have an excuse to put it back together. Let's see, convoluted combos. As a KCI player, I don't think that there will be anyone else playing KCI because I haven't seen it pick up in popularity. I know we had an Atla player at one point in Silicon Dynasty. I'm not sure if they make it out to the cookout, but I've never been south for Magic, so I don't know the meta.
It
We're
is
gonna find out
going to
the meta.
be very different. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the Southeast meta is like. I know it's considered, especially in the judge community, the Wild West of Magic. So I'm really looking forward to see what comes out of the woodwork there
It's the
and
East.
all of the interesting things. Because I don't know, I don't have a feeling like it's going to be as turbo as the Northeast, but I definitely don't think it's going to be as stacksy as the West. Because like the whole West Coast is, well, they love their Tevish
Mhm.
rug stacks land destruction. Oh boy. That was
I'll tell you
a
what,
5-hour game.
I do expect to see some familiar faces though. And I'm sure people who watch a lot of content will be excited about the folks coming in. I believe Alana is going,
Yes.
so
I
I
would
assume
be
she'll be in the top
surprised.
16.
I'm hoping so. I haven't seen her miss a top 16 yet. She actually won a couple events recently, which was really huge for her, breaking that that
Top
top
16
16
barrier.
death sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever she shows up with, I'm sure will be in the top 16.
We have
The
a
last
question here just to address it from Sinryu. Is it scummy to let my opponents miss their Remora triggers on Slicer more than meets the eye? I mean, it's a May trigger, maybe a little bit, but also no, because it's your opponent's Remora. Like, and they should be paying attention to what they need to do.
you are not responsible for your opponent's triggers.
Correct.
Yeah, you don't have to tell them. You're playing for $5,000. If you're playing in a casual event where you want your opponents to play their best, yeah, you should probably tell them so that they can playtest appropriately and hopefully remember it in the future. If you're playing for money, you don't owe them anything. Just play Magic. Um, I had somebody recently who like just came back or just got into cedh who said, "Hey, I'm new. Go easy on me." Um, and my immediate response was, I am not going to go easy on you, but I will absolutely be patient with you. So like I'm going to play to my best and use all of my outs and not like help you, but I'll be patient as you go through the motions, kind of thing.
That's another thing. Like honestly, like prepping for tournaments, like something I do. Play
Mhm.
as many games as possible and play as if you're in a tournament setting. Set a timer.
Yeah.
Set like all the rules. Like somebody puts a spell in the stack. That spell's on the stack. Like someone misses a trigger. If it's your own trigger, you take the lumps for it. So like that's definitely some big tournament prep idea. And also don't play the same decks. Like if you're going to be playing against
Blue Farm.
well, you're going
Tibet.
to be playing
Oh,
against Blue Farm. You're going to be playing against Tivit constantly.
I
You
don't.
know,
I don't think that's really a good statement. Like if you're the decks that you're playing against consistently is like you're on whatever deck you're going to play at the tournament, and your friends are playtesting Rogsai, Tim Necrom, and Tivit. Play as many games of that as you possibly can because like that's going to be the market share that you're seeing in the event. So there's no reason not to just like get as many reps on that.
no, but I
'Cause, like,
mean, I'm talking about like, oh, your buddy's playing their True Lane Brew, or they're playing their, I don't even know, insert other random, you know?
sure, but at that point, like they might not be taking it as serious as you, and you should probably diversify who you're playtesting
Yes,
with.
yes,
Um,
that's what I led
not to
with.
say, not to say that it's bad to bring a brew or have a different type of deck or something that people haven't seen before. Um, it's just not as helpful to know how to play against those decks because you're not going to run into them more than if you get unlucky and get paired with your friend. It's definitely important to be accepting of anything anyone wants to bring to a cedh table, but definitely different as to if it's something that you should be spending a ton of time playtesting against.
Yeah.
Your
I
friend
mean,
probably needs to playtest against you more than the other way around on that type of a deck.
yeah,
True.
that's one thing in some of the local players I know around under me now is that we all have like this want to play like a kind of off kilter decks, but then you play against these odd decks and you kind of get a weird evaluation of what cards are good and what cards are bad, right?
Yeah.
Like if you sit down and your three opponents are all on creature stacks, you're gonna be like, my Mr. Grimoire is bad, my Ristic Study's not good, and
Oh
you're just
yeah.
like, how did you get there, right? So one thing that's nice with your friends for playtesting is if you can proxy up like that meta deck and just find one of your friends that can figure out how to play it. You know,
Right.
I mean, you yourself learn how to play it. If you know how that deck plays, then you can figure out it's like, oh, they're missing this, or like they're playing this way, so they must not have this card in their hand, or they're trying to dig for it.
Yeah.
We all know
It's
tutors are super good in this format, so if you know what your opponent's tutoring for, pretty good.
right.
Yeah.
It's always a mana crypt. They're always tutoring for mana crypts.
when
It's oftentimes mana crypt,
when in doubt, it's
um,
Mana Crypt.
but
but
with that, like I had a train of thought and I lost it. Like,
Choo choo.
okay, so we're here on Long Island, and I play at Rip and Ship a lot, which is gaining a lot of notoriety for its CDH scene and how like competitive it really is. The problem with that local meta is it's not necessarily a problem, but they play so much mid range.
Mhm.
Like almost every player there, and they'll probably fight me on saying this that they're not mid range players, but their decks are mid range. That it kind of warps your perception of how you should play, and there are certain players in that meta who take advantage of that and do play like the turbo decks and like know when to just push the button and fire over these mid-range lists. And then you get into an open meta and you misevaluate like the true meta is not really mid-range like that. The true meta, like the online meta, is a lot faster. So you're playing these cards to stop mid-range and creature decks when you need to be playing cards to stop like the storm and the Rog Sai type decks and like the truth, the no bad cards in the Gila list. Uh, these things that just like come out of the gate and start going. You either need to have a strong hand or a way to disrupt your opponent's hand by like wheeling it, or to just like have a super good start yourself, or a stacks piece to lock them off their rocks and whatnot. There's like you have to mulligan a little bit more aggressively, I think, in these open metas as opposed to like the meta that you're comfortable with.
So
Definitely a lot to unpack there.
yeah,
Definitely a
It
lot.
is,
A whole
yeah.
episode.
Definitely,
Episode idea.
yeah.
Episode idea.
Oh,
I
So
think it's great.
probably. Sorry,
Um,
that I just like went off, and so apologies for that. But
on that with the rip and ship thing is we actually started to affectionately call it. So rip and ship's like I consider it like my second LGS. Even though it's 3 hours away from
five
me.
3 hours away, yeah.
Yeah, but like still I love going to their events. They're great. They're great events and the competition is fierce. Charles froze, so I'm kind of taking his place while while he's unfreezing. But my friends and I think Josh and I actually mentioned it from Mellow Drunken Islander in the last episode. We call it mid-range mountain
Yeah,
because
it is.
it really is just mid-range mountain. You're sitting there and you're walking in there. You're like, all right, we're gonna be here till turn 5. We're gonna sit
Mhm.
down.
Yeah, and then you know the couple of players that pick out that are just going to go for it and see their opportunities and get there.
Yep.
Like Brogside tends to do really well in that meta, and then the other stronger mid range decks that are more toolboxy tend to also do really well.
Yeah, and a
And
couple
then
times I brought Najila there, like
yeah,
my NBC Najila, I've done very well. I mean,
Mhm.
the only time that I've done semi poorly was actually when I brought my Kinnan deck, but
yep.
that was more for fun than anything else.
Weren't you on like an hour of sleep for that one and like sleeping in the back
Yeah,
of the car on the way home? Yeah.
yeah, way there and way home.
See, that's what separates us because when
Oh,
I
we
came to
lost Charles.
your store, oh, he'll be back.
Yeah,
When I came to your store, on an hour of sleep, I won. I took your event down.
right, right. It wasn't the one I was playing in though, was it?
No, it wasn't. No, you did play in that one.
Did I? Are you sure?
Yeah,
Because I don't
yeah.
remember that.
But you weren't playing Najila because you had already lit your deck to your friend,
Uh-huh.
and then I wound up top fouring against your friend on Najila for his first top 4, and he didn't want to split with me.
Oh, yeah, I didn't play
Yeah,
in that one. I gave him my deck because I wasn't playing in that one. That's right.
yeah,
I know
and you
exactly what
wound
you're
up playing.
talking about. Yeah, I showed up later on. I think
Yep.
I had states or something like that time, but yeah,
I
yeah.
think yeah, but
Because I was
I
gonna say
don't
the
know.
last one I won, so
You did. You turns out you might know how to play Magic.
I
Go figure.
allegedly like I don't know. It's weird. Yeah.
All right. So just to, I guess, switch gears again,
Yeah.
I wanted to take a little bit of time and give some previews to the changes that might be coming out very soon for future Eminence tournaments. Um,
You want me
I
to
know
pull up the
we
doc on stream?
no, because that is very unrefined, and I don't know if there's spelling mistakes in there, and I'm not ready for that level of criticism by the internet.
I mean, there's just a lot of like capitalization oddities and spacing. But it seems fine. I'm gonna
We,
pull it over my screens.
I'll just, okay.
No, no,
You
no.
can use it.
I'm pulling it onto my own so that I could
Okay.
see it.
Yeah. So one of the main things is we are shifting for a lot of penalties that used to be game losses specifically. Um, we don't want to keep that penalty as harsh. but at the same time, it doesn't feel like a lot of those things just warrant a warning. So downgrading them just doesn't feel appropriate. And it gets to see, like, well, what are other things that we can do that don't take away from the game itself and don't prevent a player from playing or finishing the game, but still provide an incentive to know, hey, I should not do that again. And I need to be more careful about that. And it's something that Magic has applied in the past. So it's something that we're bringing back to try and see if it fits here, since we switched to a 5-point system, which is a match point penalty. What that is anytime, for the most part, that you'd receive a game loss, instead, you will have a -1 added to your total score for the event. You can get multiple of these. I don't think many people will, as it's not super often anymore that people are awarded game losses. But for things like tournament errors for deck checks and deck list errors and upgrades for game rule violations, those things really tend to be pretty huge game losses. So now you get a -1 to your score instead. And if you are at 0 points, you would go to -1, but you would never go lower than a -1. So, and if you are getting these infractions at 0 points and then -1 and then -1 and then -1, we might have to have a conversation and see what the issue there is and really figure out why you're receiving so many what would be game losses in an event.
Golf rules. Trying to get the lowest score.
Yeah.
So no, and in all seriousness, no, I when you presented this document to me yesterday, that was the first thing that I said, and that's the first thing I saw, and I believe this is a testament. The first thing concern that I had was, is Command Tower capable of doing so? And without, I think you responded less than a minute later, yes. And I think that's a testament to how good Command Tower is. The fact that
Yeah.
it can simply go in and edit these things, and you have that ability to do so, it's really showing how it was developed. Huge shout out to Zane and his team that's developing that, and the Eminence team, the whole nine. um no word of lie, Command Tower is the best software I've ever used for multiplayer. I've done it for 1v1 for running One Piece events at my LGS. I tend to help out a lot at my LGS and run the events and stuff like that.
Mhm.
um and it's so much better. I'm actually been in talks with my local Smash community, because I used to run Smash events and I used to use Challenge for that, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out something to work that into Command Tower to have them use that, because it just works. And I
Yeah.
wish there was a better way to describe it, but it just works. Like,
It's one of those things. When I first heard of Eminence, almost 2 years ago now, or 18 months ago, and they said that they were using their own software, that's usually a death sentence for an event. It's a huge scary thing for people to say, "Hey, I built my own toy and we're gonna play with it live on screen for the first time and see if it breaks." But even since day one, I've been continually impressed with how much we're able to update, integrate, add, and with the addition of EDH Top 16 and the building out of profiles and all of the events that have been popping up that are using our software. uh, I can't wait to see where we continue to go. I know we have a lot of features that I can't necessarily talk about that are coming, things that will be changing and being added, and we just passed our 200 subscriber mark. So we officially have over 200 users subscribed monthly to our software, um, making all of this possible, making these events that you continue to want to see. And it means a lot that we're able to do this and bring these events to you, because it's really my passion in life is running really good events for people, and Command Tower has been monumental in setting that up.
not only that, I mean, look at the. I'm gonna pull this onto the screen. Just look at it. It's a simple and clean, easy access here. Like, you can easily get it. And not only that, the fact that just this entire Eminence .events website, the finding events, you can search by your local area here. The EDH Top 16 has been a godsend for helping. one of my good friends, he's actually the one that taught me how to play Magic, is getting into cedh, and I'm planning on doing, which I'm going to talk to you soon, Max too, but spoiler alert for both you and the people. I'm going to be doing a I call it the Freshly Brewed series because he goes by Freshka.
Mm,
And he's going to be, his first tournament's actually going to be Festival of Nights. So I want to get his thoughts of, very soon. We're actually probably going to record maybe next week after, something like that. And then after, and like what he's thinking, how he's thinking leading up to everything. But EDH Top 16 has helped him kind of like narrow down his deck list going to it. Right now he's sitting on Josh's Rolled to El Descardo Teamer Malcolm deck, because
okay.
he wants to play. So he started out just wanting to play Slicer, and I'm like, my boy, you are a better player than this. I mean, you used to be a Hearthstone pro. I know you're better than this. And
Yeah.
he finally started to, you know, go to other ones. He did Omnixless, and he's like, yeah, that was fun, but I'm not enjoying it that much. And I'm like,
Yeah.
try this. Please.
We're hurting Sinryu's feelings.
I'm
It's
sorry.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Mono red players don't have feelings. You can't convince me
They
otherwise.
can't. No, I mean, look at Baldy.
Yeah. No, if you get into some conversations with Baldy, and if you've seen him in his heyday, man was like dark glasses, tattoos all out, wearing a kilt, sat down, didn't say hi, and said, let's play some Magic, and like super intense, man. Like, so he knows like the full competitive aspect. No soul, but now he's full of spice and soul.
Is he a ginger too? Does that make him have no soul as well?
I don't know. I've never seen Baldy with hair.
Hmm.
It's Baldy.
Hmm.
Um,
Right?
but yeah.
Oh.
I think we've gotten way off topic with
Oh,
this.
just a little bit. We were simping over Command Tower for a second, so hold on.
You know what? It had to happen because I'm very thankful for everything that Eminence has done, both for myself and for the community. And I don't think Magic or cedh specifically would be where it is today without everything that we've done over the last 18 months.
100%. And so to reel us back in,
Yeah.
coming back from that.
Match point loss. Losing
Well,
match points is definitely less strict and less
and it's less feels
impactful than
bad.
game losses. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I had some mixed feelings. I sent it out to like a couple of like feeler groups to see how they would feel, and they're like, "Well, if I lose a match point, it's kind of worse than a game loss because, well, what if I just lost the game anyway? Now I'm
Mhm.
down a point and
And I lost the game.
I lost the game."
Yeah.
And like, yes, but you still had the option to get those 5 points, and like, I think not having the option is worse.
Yeah.
And it's also better for breakers too, because a lot of the times we discover issues that weren't game losses between games, which means you don't even get to play in a round sometimes, and you might not get paired. So it's like now you're just like losing points and get a 0 average for your breakers. Whereas if you lose, your opponent continues to do really well. It really like it'll help you out in the end.
Yeah.
Um,
But one of the things that I really liked in addition to this is you put it into words so eloquently that I didn't have anything to say, and that was the failure to agree on reality. I'm like, I read it and like I stopped for a second and I knew exactly what you were talking about, and then I read it again. I'm like, damn,
yeah.
that made
So
a lot of
failure to
sense.
agree failure to agree on reality is bringing back another thing from a very old tournament documentation. And essentially, what it is we've hit a point in a game where the players cannot agree on what board state or life totals or everything should be. And we need to either pick to restart the game or to pick a very specific point that we can safely rewind to and reset the status of. And like, this is not a penalty that any floor judge will ever give out. This is something very specific to head judge and appeals judge will come in, check and see what needs to be done to try and unwind this. And like, it's just a penalty and a way to apply a fix because sometimes communication gets so wonky within these 4-player pods and these very loud rooms that people just fail to agree on reality. And quite literally, it's like, it seems like such a crazy and weird title, but it's like literally what it is. It's just a failure to agree on like where things need to be and should be.
Mhm.
So bringing that back gives us an applicable fix to try and amend that. Whereas like previously it was just, well, we're past a point where we can back up, so we're just going to do absolutely nothing, and it's going to stay exactly as it's visibly presented on the board, which is sometimes more detrimental.
Yeah.
I don't anticipate it coming up a ton of times, but it's just one of those corner cases where I feel like it's better to answer it and have some guidance than to leave it more ambiguous.
Yeah, and this is why we tell people all the time. I guess we could go on another thing with, tips for your first tournament. Use a
Yeah.
pen and paper, use a boogie board,
Oh
use
yeah.
something. Do not use dice for your life total. Don't use
Mhm.
dice to represent. Don't use dice that do not have a pure flat edge, like a D20 or something like that. That could be easily,
Yeah.
bumped with your hand or anything like that.
Well, as a side note, it is part of the Magic Tournament rules to not use
Dice to represent
dice
anything.
and things to
Yep.
represent things, and that's specifically why the only exception is on stream, because it's easier to represent. But we have a couple of really cool partners who make some really useful tokens. Namely, the Epic Storm makes a fantastic token pack that has everything that you need for CEDH and for all of your Eternal formats, as well as Gold Sabertooth has a pack out,
Oh, I got one of those
and
too. Hold on.
I think Takato is another player who's been making some of their own.
Here's Staccatos.
And
They were easy to access. I was just using them.
yeah, I'm
And
still waiting for mine.
they're so
Shades of
nice.
Nike.
They're so nice. So like each one of them has their own like benefits, so to speak.
Yeah,
Epic Storm is really good if you're like a legacy player or anything like that, because there's a lot
yeah,
of things that aren't
we
used.
don't need. Yeah,
Right, like for instance, the slime tokens, which are meant specifically for the Storm slime dude. I can't
right.
remember the name.
Ave.
Yeah, Merit Lodge token. Like, where's the other one? Oh, goblins. Just a bunch of goblins. You know,
Yeah,
and they're neat. I really like the art and I really like the design on them. Takato, because he is they are a CDH content creator. They're all dedicated for CDH. What I
right.
really like about theirs is on the front you have 1, on the back you got a 5, so it's automatically 1 for 5, and also it comes with let me find it. The 1/1 spirits that you always need
Oh, the
from
ones with
Forbidden
no
Orchard.
power for
Yep.
the Northwood.
Yep.
Yeah, those
Uh,
are significantly harder to find.
yes, significantly. Um,
Except I don't use magic tokens. I use Pokemon cards because I'm a degenerate.
that's fair. The food, the boo, the void, and my personal favorite, the trigger token.
Very fair. Like
And then
those are.
yeah,
Yeah,
then
trigger tokens are huge. Like you don't realize it, but having a physical representation of triggers that are still on the stack, especially when there's multiple Mystic Remoras and things flying around,
mm-hmm.
hugely helpful.
And then these
So
are gold saber tooths. Oh god, that's gonna be pretty rough to see. But
Yeah,
he has a bunch of different ones on there. The mana and his art's just incredible. He draws it all himself and puts them out there. So yeah, 100%. I highly recommend these. I guess I collect them, so to speak. Uh, but I think they're very useful because I do a lot of playing online and it's easy to represent.
if I could add to that, now that I'm actually back,
Yeah,
real quick,
hello,
before
welcome
I
back,
leave
Charles.
again.
yeah.
I just didn't want to be known as the person who disconnected. Um, for triggers, I usually bring like 4 or 5 of these in my back pocket when judging. These helper cards. Some people use them, to proxy cards and play test. I've used them to just represent trigger. Like you just draw a Mystic Remora or a fish on a bunch of these if you expect that to happen. I also have personally used the art cards. So if you have a card that generates a trigger, like a Dragon Rage Channeler, you can get the art card for it to represent as a physical token
Yeah.
That's
of the
great
trigger.
idea.
Uh, one of the things that I also use on that note while judging is I actually carry on my Infinite tokens. The
Yep.
dry erase tokens. It just makes life so much easier. I mean, Charles and I just did the other sword event, the one before Festival of Nights, and Charles was a huge help for me there running it because I haven't head judged one in a long time, so that was fun. He got to hear me yell.
Yeah, and I got to top 16 in tournament with 0 wins. That was
Yeah, it was a
great. That felt so
yeah.
good.
That's why we need this MTR, this tournament rules.
No, that had nothing to do with
No, I
tournament
know.
rules. Unfortunately, I lost to really good players, and I when you lose to players 1 through 4 in the bracket, you just happen to like get the bye and then get squeaked into to 16th. But
Yeah,
such is life.
c'est la vie.
But with that, I am back. I got everything
Oh,
squared away. But thank you for having me on. This was a pleasure. I'm hoping to see folks that are in chat, folks that view this in the future, at events, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you,
Thank you.
Charles. Appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely. Charles, did you? I know I sent you that documentation that I had written previously or last
Yes.
night. Yes. So, do you have any thoughts, questions, comments on anything that I'm looking to implement here with these new MTR, the Eminence MTR?
Many, but not formulated in words yet. So
Oh, can
Okay.
you do it in representative dance, interpretive dance for us? Okay, perfect. Got it. That is conceding and also threatening your opponent. Got it. Perfect.
no, I think they're very, very interesting. I'm in love with the idea that we will have documentation that we can point to for eminence events specifically. As we
Yeah.
said earlier on, like not to discredit what Monarch did because they put in a lot of the foot traffic, but what we've got going on now, there are some things I feel like we can play with, right? We've established,
Yeah.
I say as if Eminence has established command tower. They've established the 5-point system over the 3-point system generally across the board. Using software to determine roles and who's going first so that you can more favorably distribute who's going first versus last over the course of a long tournament. There are other things that Eminence can do based on the structure that they've built, and it's really time to just document it. And I think it's great.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I agree. A lot of people have put a lot of their hearts into cedh, and I think we're just taking it a step further, just purely out of the fact that we run more and we have a little bit more hands-on on seeing all of these things happening in real time, specifically for in-person events. I know online events happen all the time, and not to discredit them, but they have a lot of weird deviations that have to be made in order to accommodate a lot of that stuff.
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, as somebody who's done multiple Mox Masters, yeah, there's a lot of interesting things about playing online.
Yeah.
So, but with that, I wanted to just bid farewell. Maybe see everyone again in a stream like this, or I'll see Max this weekend.
Mhm.
Billy,
Yep.
you
You'll see
Nah,
me
no
in
longer.
48 hours.
okay? Unfortunate. Well,
Yeah. Well, where can we find you, Charles, before you go?
generally you'll find me at the cedh events wearing a Pokemon hat of some sort. If you're on the internet, I technically have a Twitter account, but if you really wanted to get in touch with me for any reason, whether it be questions about judging or you want to talk about Joyra, the best would be to find me in one of the Eminence Discords, the Mox Master Discord, and ping me from there.
And
I'm
it's
SeeFour, and I'm a
there you
Bulbasaur.
go.
Yeah. So at SeeFour_IV, because I am the fourth.
Yes.
But number one in my heart.
It's okay. I'm the third, so it's you're good.
Thanks.
All right. Bye, Charles.
With that, I think that's a great place for us to wrap the night, unless we have any final thoughts on anything we have or have not touched tonight.
No, I'm actually really excited to see what the Southeast meta is like. I will
Yeah.
be, even though I'm no longer going to Cookout, I will be following it very closely between everybody I know that's going there, and I will be pinging them constantly. Although I think since I'm not going there, I'm going to a Wing Fest that's down the road for me now. So,
Ooh.
win lose kind of.
win, lose, or
Yeah.
lose, win, lose.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
it's like the loss you're not coming, the win that you're going to the Wings Festival, the loss for your septic system the day after.
Facts. 100%. But I rent. So
Still
I'm
indulging.
sorry.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. I'm Commander in Coffee on Twitter, CMDR_coffee. You could check out my podcast, The Whole Nine. Max is joining us a lot on there, so as well. So
Yeah.
you'll see him on there.
And I am Trickbound MTG on Twitter, and then Trickbound on Discord. Yeah, Discord. That's the thing. Mostly because my favorite card in Magic is Trickbind, and it's severely underplayed. You can fight me on that.
I played the crap out of it during the Flash meta.
Yeah, you should probably still be playing the crap out of it to stop the Oracle triggers, but I digress.
All right.
All right.
Have a good one, everyone.